Hello and welcome. The fabric of reality is thinner than you might believe. Between the world you walk and countless others, barriers shimmer like gossamer threads, delicate enough that the right spell, the right ritual, or the wrong experiment can tear them apart. When a group of scientists in Hawkins, Indiana, opened a doorway they barely understood, they weren't just breaking the laws of physics. They were repeating an ancient mistake that wizards, warlocks, and desperate fools have made throughout the multiverse for thousands upon thousands of years. They pierced the veil between planes of existence, and something hungry noticed. Section 1: The Gateway Between Worlds. In Dungeons and Dragons, the cosmos isn't a single universe, but a vast collection of interconnected dimensions called planes. The material plane is where most mortals live, breathe, and die. It's the baseline reality, the world of soil and stone, flesh and blood. But beyond it, layered like sheets of glass, stacked infinitely in directions that shouldn't exist, are the other planes. Some shimmer with elemental fury. Others pulse with raw emotion or divine energy. And some are so alien, so fundamentally wrong, that mortal minds crack just trying to comprehend them. The boundaries between these planes are called planar barriers, and they exist for very good reasons. They keep the elemental chaos from consuming material worlds. They prevent demons from spilling endlessly into mortal cities. They shield thinking, beings from the maddening truths of dimensions, where thought itself becomes reality in terrible, uncontrolled ways. But barriers can be crossed. Wizards do it all the time through carefully constructed spells, like plane shift or gate. Clerics channel divine power to walk between their deity's realm and the mortal world. Even natural phenomena create temporary crossings, places where the barriers wear thin, spots where reality bleeds. The scientists at Hawkin's laboratory, led by Dr. Martin Brenner, didn't use magic in the traditional sense. They used psychic ability. A girl named 11, whose mind could reach beyond the normal limits of perception. But psychic power in D&D lore is just another form of manipulating reality's fundamental forces. Psionics, as it's called, draws from the internal magic of one's own mind and life force, functioning independently of the weave that arcane spellcasters tap into. When 11 reached out with her consciousness during that experiment in 1983, when she touched the creature in the void, she became comparable to a living gate spell. Her mind formed a bridge, and that bridge became a tear, a wound in the planar barrier that wouldn't close. What she touched, what she found in that dark place, wasn't just empty space. Based on its characteristics, this realm strongly resembles another plane from D&D cosmology, one that mirrors and mocks the material plane with twisted cruelty. In D&D lore, this realm has a name, the Shadowfell. The Shadowfell exists as a dark echo of the world you know. Every mountain, every forest, every city that stands in the material plane has a counterpart in the Shadowfell. But these reflections are corrupted, drained of color and life and hope. Imagine walking through your hometown and finding every building gray and crumbling, every tree leafless and dead, every sound muffled and distant. The air itself feels heavier in the Shadowfell, pressing down on you with the weight of accumulated despair. Time moves strangely there. What feels like hours might be days or mere minutes. The laws of nature bend under the plane's oppressive gloom. The Shadowfell wasn't always separate from the material plane. In the earliest days of creation, powerful beings called the primordials shaped reality according to their vision. Finding some aspects of the prime material plane too bright and others too dark for their purposes, they tore these elements away, creating two new planes. The bright, magical aspects became the Feywild, a realm of eternal twilight and fey enchantment. The dark, death-touched elements collapsed into the Shadowfell, a plane where shadows themselves gain predatory will. The plane feeds on negative emotions. Despair, grief, fear, and hopelessness don't just exist in the Shadowfell. They saturate it, permeate every shadow and every whisper of wind. Creatures born in the Shadowfell carry this darkness in their very essence. Shadows themselves become predatory, detaching from objects to hunt the living. Wraiths and specters drift through the gloom, drawn to any spark of life or warmth they can drain. Even the undead feel more at home in the Shadowfell than in the material plane, because death is the natural state of being there. Geography in the Shadowfell mirrors the material plane, but it's not a perfect copy. A mountain range might exist in both planes, but in the Shadowfell, those mountains are jagged, hostile, their peaks shrouded in perpetual storm clouds that never rain, only threaten. A river flowing through a material plane city might be a sluggish stream of dark, oily water in its Shadowfell counterpart, or it might have dried up entirely, leaving only a cracked riverbed. Forests in the Shadowfell are tangles of dead wood and grasping branches, places where the trees seem almost aware of your presence, where the undergrowth clutches at your feet. Cities and settlements take on particularly disturbing forms in the Shadowfell. Imagine Hawkins, Indiana, but every house is a hollow shell. Windows are broken or boarded up. Doors hang from rusted hinges. The streets are cracked and overgrown with sickly vegetation that shouldn't survive in such darkness, but somehow persists. This matches precisely what the upside down presents: a corrupted reflection aligning with the Shadowfell's nature. The vines that spread through the upside down's version of Hawkins, the spores floating in the air, the pervasive rot. All of these elements align with how the Shadowfell corrupts, and transforms the spaces it mirrors. But the Shadowfell isn't the only plane that could explain what the characters in Stranger Things encountered. There's another realm, one far more alien and far more terrifying, that lurks at the edges of all reality: the Far Realm. The Far Realm exists outside the normal cosmology of the planes. It's not layered alongside the material plane, the Feywild, or the Shadowfell. Instead, it presses against reality from the outside, from directions that don't exist in normal space. To even speak of the Far Realm as a place is misleading, because it doesn't follow the rules of places. Distance, time, matter, thought. All of these concepts become fluid and meaningless there. The Far Realm is where reality breaks down completely, where the fundamental laws that govern existence simply don't apply. Nothing from the material plane was meant to enter the Far Realm. The entities that live there, if living is even the right word, are so fundamentally different from mortals that contact with them causes madness. These beings don't think in linear progressions of thought. They don't communicate in language. They exist in states that mortal minds interpret as geometric impossibilities, as colors that shouldn't exist, as sounds that seem to come from inside your skull. To look upon a true Far Realm entity is to feel your sanity crack like thin ice under pressure. The most famous denizens of the Far Realm are aberrations, creatures whose very existence defies natural law. Mind flayers, those tentacled psychic horrors that enslave entire civilizations, are either from the Far Realm or were shaped by its influence, according to the Dungeon Master's Guide. Their empire spans multiple planes and stretches across time in ways that suggest they experience temporal reality differently than other beings. Beholders, floating spheres of flesh covered in ice stalks, each eye wielding a different magical effect, similarly bear the marks of Far Realm origins. Aboleths, ancient fish-like horrors older than the gods themselves, swim through dark waters while remembering the primordial chaos before creation. All of these creatures share certain traits. They possess psychic abilities that let them dominate and control other minds. They view humanoid life as either prey or raw material for transformation. They spread corruption wherever they go, not just physical corruption, but metaphysical taint that warps reality around them. And they all carry that alien quality, that sense of wrongness that marks them as fundamentally other. The mind flayer that serves as the primary antagonist in Stranger Things bears all these hallmarks. Its form is tentacled and impossible, a massive shadow creature that shouldn't be able to exist in three-dimensional space. It possesses psychic abilities that let it dominate human minds, turning them into extensions of its will. It spreads through a hive network, connecting all its thralls into a singular consciousness. These aren't just coincidental similarities. They're the defining characteristics of far realm influence, the markers that separate aberrations from every other type of creature in the D and D multiverse. When planes intersect, when barriers break and gateways open, the results are rarely contained. A small tear can widen. A temporary portal can become permanent. And once opened, gateways attract attention from both sides. Think of it like punching a hole in a dam. At first, maybe just a trickle of water seeps through. But the pressure behind that dam is immense, and water has a way of finding every weakness, every crack. It pushes through with increasing force until the trickle becomes a flood, and the entire structure fails catastrophically. Hawkin's laboratory's initial experiment created a small tear, just large enough for the Demogorgon to slip through. But that tear didn't seal. It couldn't seal because 11's psychic energy had fundamentally damaged the planar barrier at that location. The laboratory became what wizards would call a soft point, a permanent weak spot in reality, where the division between planes grows thin. Soft points occur naturally in some locations, usually places where significant magical or emotional events have occurred. Ancient battlefields where thousands died can become soft points to the Shadowfell. Sites of terrible betrayals might develop connections to the lower planes, where devils make their homes. Places where reality was torn during magical catastrophes remain scarred for centuries. The gate in Hawkin's laboratory operated on similar principles, but it was worse than a natural soft point because it was artificial and uncontrolled. Natural soft points usually allow only limited interaction between planes. A ghost might manifest at a Shadowfell soft point on specific nights. A fiendish presence might whisper to the susceptible near a lower plane's connection. But the Hawkins gate was a full rupture, a wound that bled between realities constantly. This would explain why the Upside Down's influence spread, why vines pushed through into the material plane, why the Demogorgon could hunt between worlds. In D&D campaigns, wizards who accidentally create such tiers face dire consequences. The spell Gate, when cast properly, opens a portal to another plane that lasts for up to 1 minute under the caster's concentration. The caster maintains control, choosing the destination and the duration. But when Gate goes wrong, when the caster loses control, or the spell interacts with other magic unpredictably, the results can be catastrophic. Stories tell of entire cities swallowed by portals to the elemental plane of fire, their populations incinerated in seconds. Coastal towns have vanished into spontaneous gates to the elemental plane of water, drowning under impossible pressure. And those are just the elemental planes, which are at least somewhat comprehensible. Gates to the far realm are worse. Much worse, when reality opens to that alien dimension, the corruption spreads like infection through flesh. Space bends into angles that hurt to perceive. Time stutters and loops. Living beings exposed to raw far realm energy undergo terrible transformations, their bodies reshaping into forms that should not exist. Their minds fracture and reform according to alien logic. Some become thralls to far realm entities, their will subsumed entirely. Others transform into aberrations themselves, joining the ranks of creatures that exist between states of being. The psychic phenomena surrounding Hawkins, the way 11 and later other test subjects could interact with the gate, suggests that human consciousness can serve as a bridge between planes under the right conditions. This isn't unprecedented in D and D lore. Psychics, those who wield psionic power, often find themselves more sensitive to planar boundaries than ordinary people. Their minds already operate partially outside normal space, reaching across distances instantly through telepathy, perceiving through walls with clairvoyance, moving objects without touching them through telekinesis. Given these capabilities, it stands to reason that actually perceiving other planes and opening pathways to them would be within their potential, especially for someone of exceptional power. Psionics in D&D has always occupied a unique space as a form of power distinct from conventional magic. While wizards draw power from the weave, the fundamental structure of magic that connects all planes, psionicists claim their power comes from within, from the untapped potential of the mind itself. Psionic energy functions independently of the weave, which means even deities of magic cannot stop a psionic creature from using its powers. But psionic ability still interacts with planar boundaries because consciousness itself exists across multiple planes simultaneously. Your body occupies the material plane, but your thoughts, your dreams, your very sense of self touches other realms. Dreams take you to the ethereal plane. Strong emotions can attract attention from entities in the outer planes, and psychic ability lets you strengthen those connections, turn them into tools you can wield. 11's abilities manifested as telekinesis and limited telepathy initially, but her true potential lay in her capacity to perceive and interact with other planes of existence. Dr. Brenner's experiments pushed her toward this, whether he understood what he was doing or not. By forcing her to extend her consciousness further and further, by making her search through the void for distant targets, he was effectively teaching her to navigate the spaces between planes. The sensory deprivation tank served as a focusing tool, blocking out material plane distractions so she could perceive other realities more clearly. When she touched the Demogorgon during that fateful experiment, she wasn't just making psychic contact with a creature. she was reaching across the planar barrier, extending her consciousness into the Shadowfell or the far realm, or wherever the creature dwelt. And in doing so, she created a permanent link. This kind of accident has happened before in D&D history, recorded in the annals of magical disasters that every serious wizard studies. The most famous case is the Spell Plague, a catastrophic event that reshaped the entire multiverse when the goddess of magic died. But smaller incidents occur regularly in campaign lore. A wizard experimenting with planar travel miscalculates and creates a permanent portal in their tower's basement. A warlock makes a pact with an entity from the far realm without understanding the full implications, and becomes a gateway through which aberrations can enter the material plane. A Scion pushes their abilities too far during a moment of extreme stress and tears a hole in reality with the force of their mental scream. What makes the Hawkins incident particularly dangerous is its location. It didn't happen in some remote wilderness or deep underground, where containment might be possible. It occurred in a populated area, in a town where thousands of people lived and worked. Every person in Hawkins became potentially exposed to planar contamination. The spores floating through the air breathed in unknowingly. The strange sounds heard in the night, the electrical disturbances and magnetic anomalies. All of these are consistent with planar instability, signs that the barriers between realities have grown dangerously thin. Similar effects appear in D&D locations where planes overlap. The city of Sigil, for instance, exists at the center of the multiverse, with portals to every plane scattered throughout its impossible architecture. Reality in Sigil is consequently unstable, subject to the influence of whatever plane happens to be most active at any given moment. Residents learn to navigate these fluctuations, or they don't survive long. Hawkins, in its own way, became a smaller version of Sigil, a place where multiple realities pressed against each other, bleeding through in unpredictable ways. The vines that spread from the upside down into Hawkins represent another phenomenon familiar to planar scholars: the concept of planar seepage. When planes overlap for extended periods, they begin to merge. Features from one plane manifest in the other. This isn't a simple physical process. It's an ontological transformation, where the fundamental nature of reality in the affected area begins to shift. A forest experiencing planar seepage from the Feywild might find its trees growing to enormous heights overnight, its animals becoming more intelligent and mischievous, its very atmosphere charged with wild magic. The same forest experiencing seepage from the Shadowfell would wither and die, its colors fading to grayscale, its animals fleeing or transforming into undead mockeries of life. Hawkins experienced seepage from whatever plane the upside down represents, and the effects match precisely what planar theory would predict. Plant life from the other plane pushed through into the material world. The atmosphere grew heavy and oppressive in areas near the gate. Electronic equipment malfunctioned due to the overlapping fields of reality, and people began to vanish, pulled across the barrier during moments when it grew particularly thin. This brings us back to the central question, the mystery that connects all these pieces together. What exactly is the upside down? Is it the Shadowfell, with its dark reflections and death-saturated atmosphere? Is it the far realm, bleeding through with alien horror and reality-warping corruption? Or is it something else entirely? Perhaps a pocket dimension created by the interaction between 11's psychic power and the natural planar barriers. A new realm born from the collision of consciousness and cosmic structure. The answer could be all of the above. Planar theory suggests that new demiplanes can form when sufficient energy concentrates in the spaces between larger planes. These pocket dimensions start small, perhaps just a room or a cavern, but they can grow if fed with enough power. Demiplanes typically exist in the astral or ethereal plane, serving as transitional spaces between the major planes. The gate in Hawkin's laboratory could have created such a demiplane, a bubble of reality separate from both the material plane and any existing outer plane. But this demiplane wouldn't exist in isolation. It would be connected to and influenced by the planes around it, drawing characteristics from the Shadowfell, perhaps touching the far realm at certain points, maybe even intersecting with other dimensions that no D&D campaign has fully explored. The creatures that inhabit the upside down support this interpretation. The Demogorgon behaves like an apex predator from the Shadowfell, hunting with savage efficiency. But the Mind Flayer demonstrates intelligence and psychic abilities more consistent with far realm aberrations. These aren't creatures that would naturally coexist in a single plane. They're too different, their natures too fundamentally incompatible. But in a demiplane that draws from multiple sources, in a pocket reality where the normal rules don't fully apply, such coexistence becomes possible. This is your introduction to the planar cosmology behind Stranger Things, the D&D lore that explains how Hawkins, Indiana, became ground zero for an interdimensional crisis. The scientists who thought they were just experimenting with psychic ability were actually practicing the most dangerous form of reality manipulation imaginable. They were tampering with the barriers between worlds, and those barriers exist for reasons that become terrifyingly clear once they fail. Section 2. The Mind Flayer, Ancient Terror from Beyond. The shadow that stretches across Hawkins, the entity that watches from the storm clouds of the upside down, takes a form that wizards and adventurers throughout the multiverse have learned to fear above almost all others. Tentacles writhing in impossible configurations, a presence that crushes thought itself, a hunger not for flesh, but for minds. The creature that the children call the Mind Flayer isn't just borrowing a name from their game. It embodies the essence of one of D and D's most terrifying monster species, creatures whose empire spans worlds and whose cruelty knows no bounds. The Illithids, as they're properly known, don't belong to the material plane. Their origins remain shrouded in mystery and contradiction. According to some scholars who have pieced together fragments from captured Illithid texts, the Mind Flayers may come from the far future, millions of years ahead of the current age. In that distant time, they supposedly built an empire that controlled vast regions of space, enslaving every intelligent species they encountered. But something went catastrophically wrong. Their empire fell, destroyed by forces unknown, and in their desperation to survive, they may have reached backward through time itself. This temporal escape theory suggests they scattered across different eras and different planes, fragmenting their once unified civilization. Some arrived in the deep past, in the primordial ages before even the oldest civilizations rose. Others materialized in more recent times, finding worlds already populated by potential slaves. And some, perhaps the most unfortunate, became lost in the spaces between moments, trapped in temporal pockets where time flows differently or doesn't flow at all. Whether this origin story is literal truth or Illithid propaganda remains debated among sages. What's certain is that Mind Flayers you encounter in the present day are creatures out of time in some fashion, beings whose technology and understanding exceed what most civilizations have achieved. Their psionic abilities let them manipulate not just minds, but aspects of reality itself, suggesting knowledge gained through means beyond normal study. An individual Illithid stands roughly as tall as a human, but the resemblance ends there. Its head resembles an octopus, 4 long tentacles hanging where a mouth should be, surrounding a lamprey-like orifice lined with concentric rings of teeth. These tentacles aren't just appendages. They're feeding organs, designed to grasp a victim's head and burrow into the skull. The process takes mere seconds, the tentacles secreting enzymes that soften bone, while psionic power paralyzes the victim so they can't struggle. Once the tentacles penetrate the skull, they pierce the brain and begin to feed. But feeding is the wrong word, too simple and too clean for what actually happens. The Illithid doesn't just consume brain tissue. It absorbs memories, experiences, knowledge, everything that makes the victim who they are. In those final moments, as the tentacles drain away consciousness itself, the victim feels their identity dissolving. Memories vanish like dreams upon waking. Skills and knowledge flow out of them. their very sense of self erodes until nothing remains but an empty shell that collapses once the illithid withdraws. This feeding isn't about nutrition, at least not primarily. Mind flayers are psychic vampires, and what they hunger for is sentience itself. They can survive on animal brains, or even conventional food, if absolutely necessary. But sapient minds provide the psychic energy they truly need. The more intelligent the victim, the more satisfying the meal. A genius provides far more nourishment than someone of average intellect. And the emotions present during feeding apparently enhance the experience, with terror adding to the mind flayer's satisfaction. Beyond the physical horror lies an even more disturbing truth. Every mind flayer was once something else. Some other species transformed through a process called seromorphosis. The illithids reproduce by implanting tadpole-like larvae into the brains of living victims, usually humanoids like humans, elves, or dwarves. The tadpole, grown in special brine pools and nurtured by the elder brain, devours the host's brain over the course of approximately 7 days, while simultaneously restructuring the body at a fundamental level. The transformation is excruciating. The victim remains conscious throughout most of the process, feeling their thoughts change, their memories recontextualize, their very personality rewrite itself according to alien patterns. Their body shifts and warps, skin changing to rubbery mauve or purple, fingers elongating, internal organs rearranging to accommodate new biological requirements. By the time seromorphosis completes, nothing of the original person remains. The creature that emerges is fully illithid, its mind integrated into the collective consciousness of its colony, all traces of its former life erased. This reproduction method makes mind flayers fundamentally parasitic. They can't create new members of their species without consuming other sapient beings. A single illithid colony requires a steady supply of victims, both for feeding and for reproduction. This is why they build their cities near or beneath population centers, why they cultivate thrall species to serve their needs, why they view other intelligent beings as nothing more than resources to exploit. The colonies themselves center around an entity called an elder brain, a massive psychic intelligence that forms when dead illithids have their brains removed and placed in a brine pool. These individual brains merge over time, combining their knowledge and personalities into a singular consciousness of terrifying power. An elder brain can grow to enormous size, some spanning 20 to 30 feet across, floating in specially prepared pools deep within illithid cities. Tentacles trail from its mass, some thick enough to grasp and crush intruders who approach too closely. But the elder brain's true power isn't physical. It's the psychic nexus of the entire colony, the intelligence that coordinates every illithid's actions, that processes information from hundreds or thousands of individual minds simultaneously. Every mind flayer in the colony maintains a constant psychic link to the elder brain, sharing thoughts and experiences in real time. This creates a hive mind of devastating efficiency. Individual illithids can operate independently when necessary, but they're never truly alone. The elder brain observes through their senses, guides their decisions, and can assert direct control when it chooses. This hive structure explains the shadow monster's behavior in Stranger Things. The massive form lurking in the upside down storm clouds doesn't act like an individual creature hunting for itself. It acts like a colony intelligence, a controlling consciousness that coordinates multiple smaller entities toward unified goals. When it possesses Will Byers in Season 2, it doesn't just take control of his body. It integrates him into its network, making him an extension of its greater consciousness. This mirrors exactly how elder brains control their illithid colonies and the thrall species those colonies maintain. Thralls represent another level of the mind, flayers' psychic domination. Rather than consuming every sapient being they encounter, illithids often preserve useful individuals through mental enslavement. The process strips away free will while leaving skills and knowledge intact. A thralled wizard can still cast spells, but only when the illithid controlling them commands it. A thralled warrior fights with all their training and experience, but their loyalty belongs entirely to their master. These thralls serve as soldiers, workers, and sometimes even scouts or infiltrators in communities the mind flayers plan to conquer. The psychic domination that creates thralls operates through sustained mental contact. An illithid uses its psionic abilities to invade a victim's mind, overwhelming their consciousness with alien thoughts and restructuring their neural pathways to accept commands without question. The process takes time and concentration, making it impractical during combat. But once established, the domination proves extremely difficult to break. Only powerful magic or psionic abilities can sever the connection. And even then, the victim often suffers permanent psychological damage from the violation. What makes thralls particularly insidious is that they can appear to retain their personalities. The illithid can leave their surface thoughts mostly intact, allowing them to think and act normally until specific trigger conditions activate their programming. Someone might live for extended periods without consciously knowing a mind flayer has implanted commands in their subconscious, only to suddenly turn on their friends when those commands activate. This capability allows illithid colonies to maintain spy networks within cities. Ordinary citizens going about their lives, while secretly reporting through psychic channels they're not consciously aware of using. The flayed in Stranger Things, those possessed by the Mind Flayer during Season 3, demonstrate this thrall concept perfectly. They maintain their normal routines initially, acting like themselves to avoid detection. But underneath, they've become extensions of the greater intelligence, coordinated pieces of a larger plan. When the Mind Flayer needs them, they abandon all pretense and act in perfect synchronization, proving they were never truly independent after the possession occurred. This ability to create coordinated networks of dominated individuals makes Mind Flayer colonies extraordinarily dangerous to neighboring civilizations. An Illithid city might maintain control over hundreds or thousands of thralls in surrounding communities, using them to gather intelligence, sabotage defenses, and spread confusion before an actual attack begins. By the time conventional forces realize they are under assault, the Mind Flayers have already compromised key positions and turned trusted individuals into unknowing traitors. The psychic abilities that enable this domination extend far beyond simple mind control. Experienced Illithids develop powers that rival the greatest mortal spellcasters. They can project blasts of psychic energy that stun or kill. They can probe minds from a distance, extracting information without the victim's awareness. They can create mental illusions so convincing that victims believe them completely. And the most powerful can manipulate perception itself, making themselves invisible to detection or causing targets to forget they ever existed. These abilities stem from the Mind Flayer's deep understanding of consciousness as a fundamental force. While wizards view magic as manipulation of mystical energies, and clerics see divine power as gifts from their gods, Illithids understand that thought itself shapes reality. Every mind creates ripples in the fabric of existence. Most beings never learn to harness these ripples, but Mind Flayers have built their entire civilization around weaponizing consciousness. A sufficiently powerful psychic intelligence can alter probability, manifest thoughts as tangible force, and reshape local reality through will alone. This is why the shadow monster in the Upside Down can reach across planar boundaries to possess victims in the material plane. It's using pure psychic force, the strength of its consciousness pressing against reality until reality gives way. When it sends tendrils of itself through the gate to grab Will, when it implants visions in his mind, when it slowly transforms him into an extension of its being. These represent applications of psionic domination, operating on a scale that would require an exceptionally powerful elder brain or multiple intelligences working in concert. The question of whether the shadow monster represents a single entity or multiple intelligences merged into one becomes crucial here. In D&D lore, elder brains occasionally merge with each other when colonies unite, or when one colony conquers another. The resulting fusion creates an intelligence of terrifying scope, combining the memories and abilities of both original entities. Some of the most ancient mind flayer cities are said to harbor elder brains that have absorbed dozens of predecessors, accumulating knowledge and power across thousands of years. Such merged entities develop abilities approaching the divine. They can maintain psychic contact with thralls across vast distances. They can process information from countless sources simultaneously without confusion. They can engage in multiple complex tasks at once, each receiving full attention because their consciousness operates on so many levels that concepts like divided attention become meaningless. And they hunger with the combined appetite of all the minds they've absorbed, needing vast quantities of sapient beings to sustain themselves and their colonies. Based on what we know of Illithid psychology, they exist to consume and expand, to transform the multiverse into one vast hive where nothing thinks independently except the elder brains. Morality, compassion, mercy, these concepts hold no meaning for them. They enslave entire civilizations not out of malice, but because slavery is efficient. They consume minds not to cause pain, but because that's how they feed. They build empires of horror because, from their perspective, it's simply logical to do so. The psychological impact of fighting mind flayers goes beyond normal combat trauma. Soldiers who face demons or devils at least understand what they're fighting. But standing against Illithids means confronting creatures who don't recognize you as a person. You're food to them, or you're a potential thrall, or you're an obstacle to remove. Your hopes, dreams, loved ones, everything that makes you who you are means nothing to them. They'll strip it all away without hesitation or remorse. The children in Hawkins named their enemy well when they called it the Mind Flayer. Whether they realized it or not, they identified the core truth of what they faced. Not a simple monster to defeat in combat, but an intelligence that operates on fundamentally different principles than human consciousness. An entity that views the world as territory to claim and minds, as resources to exploit. A force that won't stop with Hawkins, that will spread as far as it can reach, consuming everything sapient it encounters, and transforming it into extensions of itself. Section 3. Demogorgon, Prince of Demons Unleashed. The Mind Flayer represents one face of the horror lurking in the upside down. The calculating intelligence that plans and schemes and dominates. But when the gate first opened, when the barrier between Hawkins and that dark realm tore apart, the first creature to cross over embodied a different kind of terror entirely. The Demogorgon, as the boys named it after the monster from their game, hunts not with careful strategy, but with savage, relentless hunger. And in doing so, It mirrors one of the oldest and most feared entities in the abyss, a demon prince whose madness and cruelty have echoed through the multiverse for eons beyond counting. The abyss exists as the ultimate expression of chaos and evil made manifest. It's not a single plane, but an infinite number of layers, each one a unique hell shaped by the demon lords who rule them. These layers stack endlessly downward, or perhaps sideways, or maybe in directions that mortal geometry can't describe. Trying to map the abyss is futile because it changes constantly. New layers forming as demon lords gain power, while others collapse when their rulers are destroyed or overthrown. What remains constant across every layer is the pervasive atmosphere of violence, corruption, and entropy that defines demonic existence. Demons spawn from mortal souls twisted by evil during life and condemned to the abyss after death. These souls don't retain their memories or personalities. Instead, they dissolve into the layer's essence and reform as lesser demons, manes or dretches, creatures of pure malice with barely any intelligence. These lesser demons fight each other endlessly, and the winners devour the losers, growing stronger with each victory. Over centuries or millennia, a successful demon might evolve through multiple forms, from dretch to quasite, to vrak to glabrezu, each transformation making it more powerful and more cunning. The transformations are largely unpredictable and can occur at random based on the forces of the abyss itself. But the demon lords, the princes who rule entire layers of the abyss, transcend this evolution. They're not former mortals who climbed the demonic hierarchy through simple combat. They're primal forces of chaos, entities that have existed for eons and claimed dominion over portions of the abyss through sheer power and will. Some planar scholars believe the demon lords are aspects of the abyss given independent consciousness, fragments of infinite evil that achieved self-awareness and claimed territory as their own. Among these demon princes, Demogorgon stands as the most feared and the most powerful. He claims the title Prince of Demons, and while other demon lords dispute this claim, particularly Orcus and Grast, none can deny his strength. His layer of the abyss, the 88th layer known as the Gaping Maw, consists of a vast ocean of briny water stretching in all directions beneath a sky of perpetual twilight. Islands rise from these toxic seas, jungle-covered landmasses where dinosaurs and other prehistoric monsters hunt among vegetation that writhes with barely restrained malevolence. In the depths between these islands, things swim that make sharks and giant squid look harmless by comparison. Demogorgon himself rises from these waters when he manifests fully, standing 18 feet tall. His form, a nightmarish combination of reptilian and tentacled features. 2 heads sprout from his shoulders, each resembling a mandrill or baboon with elongated fangs and wild, staring eyes. But these heads don't think as one. Each possesses its own personality, its own desires, and they constantly argue with each other in a dialogue of pure madness. His torso is humanoid, but covered in scales. His arms end in grasping claws, while twin tentacles emerge from where his legs should be, writhing and lashing at anything within reach. The two heads represent the fundamental duality of Demogorgon's nature. The left head, called Omul, embodies calculation and deception. It prefers to work through subtle corruption and manipulation, twisting minds rather than crushing bodies. The right head, called Hithredaya, represents savage destruction and primal fury. It wants immediate violence, reveling in chaos and bloodshed. These two aspects war constantly within Demogorgon, creating an internal conflict that manifests as the babbling, shrieking conversation between his heads. This madness doesn't weaken him. Instead, it makes him utterly unpredictable, switching between brutal, straightforward assault and devious trickery without warning. According to some legends, Demogorgon once had a single head until a blow from the primordial Amoth split it in two during ancient conflicts in the abyss. After that battle, Demogorgon defeated another stone primordial called Storelk and kept him beneath his throne, torturing him for eternity through a ritual that creates Ettins from Storelk's blood, linking them to his body, so that every time an Ettin feels pain, that agony transfers to Storelk. Demogorgon's madness radiates from him like heat from a forge. Those who look upon him directly, who meet the gaze of either head, feel their sanity begin to crack. The effect isn't subtle or gradual. It hits like a physical blow, flooding the mind with alien thoughts and impossible perceptions. Each of his heads possesses a different gaze attack. Omul's beguiling gaze works like a charm spell, compelling victims to view Demogorgon as a trusted ally. Hithredaya's insanity gaze inflicts madness directly, causing victims' minds to shatter under the weight of incomprehensible horror. When both heads focus on a single target simultaneously, they can hypnotize the victim completely. This aura of madness extends to Demogorgon's followers and thralls. The demon prince commands loyalty from creatures across the abyss, and even from some mortals in the material plane who worship him in hidden cults. Yuan-Ti troglodytes and Ixixachital vampiric manta ray-like creatures particularly revere him. These cults are depraved and engage in all manner of horrific rituals and sacrifices to their lord. But serving Demogorgon inevitably leads to insanity. His priests receive visions that warp their perceptions of reality. His cultists perform rituals that slowly erode their humanity. Even his demon servants, already creatures of chaos, become more erratic and unpredictable in his presence, infected by the sheer wrongness that emanates from their master. The demon prince rules his lair through fear and overwhelming power rather than any kind of structured government. He has no real court in the traditional sense, no advisors or administrators beyond his most powerful servants. When he needs something done, he simply commands the nearest demons to do it, and they obey because defiance means immediate and horrifying death. His palace, called Abysm, consists of 2 twin towers roughly shaped like tightly coiled serpents, crowned at the top with skull-shaped minarets. The fortress extends deep underwater, connecting to the realm of Dagon, another demon lord allied with Demogorgon. But Demogorgon doesn't stay in his palace often. He's a hunter at heart, a predator who finds more satisfaction in the chase and the kill than in sitting on a throne. He roams his lair looking for worthy prey, and when nothing there satisfies him, he travels to other layers of the abyss to hunt. Other demon lords have learned to recognize the signs of his approach. The water turning fouler than usual, the sounds of 2 voices arguing in tongues that predate language, the sudden flight of every lesser demon in the area as they flee in mindless panic. The creature in Stranger Things that emerges from the upside down shares many of Demogorgon's defining characteristics. It hunts with single-minded determination, tracking blood across vast distances, just as the demon prince can sense prey anywhere in his realm. It demonstrates savage physical power, tearing through walls and doors with ease, matching Demogorgon's legendary strength. And it embodies pure predatory hunger, seeking not wealth or power or even conventional sustenance, but something more fundamental, the dissolution of life itself. The Demogorgon's hunting style in D&D lore can involve both patience and explosive violence. While he possesses tremendous physical power, he's not mindless. He can use magic to aid his servants and avoid direct conflict when strategy serves him better. When he does attack directly, the assault comes with overwhelming force. His tentacles lash out, each strike inflicting not just damage, but a supernatural rot that causes flesh and bone to decay. The rot is so virulent that it causes ongoing constitution damage, withering the victim from within unless powerful magic intervenes. His tail can drain life energy directly, and his 2 heads work in coordination despite their constant arguing, one beguiling while the other drives victims mad. The demon prince's relationship with water deserves special attention because it connects to his hunting methods. In his lair of the abyss, water serves as Demogorgon's preferred territory. He moves through his toxic oceans with frightening speed and grace, his tentacled lower body propelling him through the depths. The massive continent of jungle on the gaping maw conceals far more subtle adherents beneath the waves, including krakens, who serve the sibilant beast. When prey comes near the water, ambush becomes possible, emerging without warning to grab victims. The Upside Down's Demogorgon demonstrates similar behavior with its use of dimensional barriers as hunting grounds. It emerges through walls that touch the boundary between planes, pulling victims across before they can react. It drags prey back into the Upside Down, using the dimensional crossing itself to confuse and terrorize those it hunts. Demogorgon's influence extends beyond his personal hunting to the corruption he spreads wherever he goes. His presence taints reality at a fundamental level, warping nature itself into twisted mockeries. This corruption would manifest in areas he's visited, transforming the environment to match the chaotic evil nature of the abyss. The demon prince's relationship with other demon lords illustrates the brutal hierarchy of the abyss. While Demogorgon claims supremacy as Prince of Demons, other princes constantly challenge him, seeking to prove themselves stronger or more cunning. Orcus, the demon prince of undeath, particularly hates Demogorgon and has waged war against him for what may be hundreds of thousands of years. Their conflict may predate the formation of some worlds themselves. Grazd, the dark prince of pleasure and pain, who appears as a handsome humanoid with obsidian skin and 6 fingers on each hand, schemes constantly to undermine Demogorgon's power through manipulation rather than direct assault. These 3 demon lords form a triad engaged in ongoing war with one another. These conflicts between demon princes shake the abyss regularly. Wars that consume entire layers and destroy millions of demons in battles that last for centuries. Demogorgon wins most of these conflicts through his combination of raw power and unpredictable tactics. But the victories come at tremendous cost. During the death curse that afflicted certain worlds, when fewer souls were sent to the lower planes, all the demon lords took notice. Grazd managed to waylay both Orcus and even Demogorgon himself during the scramble for power that followed. The summoning of Demogorgon to the material plane represents one of the most dangerous events possible in D&D magic. Most demon summoning rituals include binding circles and magical wards that constrain the summoned entity, forcing it to obey the summoner's commands, or at least preventing it from attacking its summoner directly. But Demogorgon's power exceeds the capacity of most bindings. He can often break free through sheer strength, shattering magical barriers that would hold lesser demons indefinitely. When Demogorgon manifests in the material plane unbound, the results are catastrophic. He goes on rampages that devastate entire regions, killing everything in his path until heroes powerful enough to challenge him arrive, or until he grows bored and returns to the abyss of his own volition. The destruction isn't random violence. It's Demogorgon expressing his fundamental nature, imposing the chaos and entropy of the abyss onto ordered reality. The gate in Hawkins operates somewhat like an accidental summoning, creating a pathway that allows entities from another plane to enter the material world. But unlike a controlled summoning, there's no binding, no wards, nothing to prevent creatures from crossing over and acting according to their nature. The Demogorgon that emerges hunts because that's what such creatures do. It kills because its existence is predicated on destruction. And it spreads corruption because chaos follows in its wake inevitably, a natural consequence of its presence rather than deliberate malice. Defeating Demogorgon in D and D campaigns requires more than simple combat prowess. His resistances to magic make him nearly immune to most spells, forcing attackers to rely primarily on physical damage. His abilities allow him to regenerate from wounds and survive damage that would kill other creatures. And his raw power means that even legendary heroes need preparation, allies, and usually magical weapons, specifically designed to harm demon princes. Rushing in without these advantages results in swift death. The creature in Hawkins proves similarly difficult to kill, surviving gunfire and conventional weapons, recovering from wounds, hunting despite injuries that would stop normal predators. When it finally dies, killed through a combination of physical trauma and fire, the victory comes at tremendous cost, and only through the combined efforts of multiple people working together. This mirrors the D&D experience of Demon Prince combat, where success requires cooperation, strategy, and usually sacrifices that leave lasting scars on the survivors. Demogorgon's madness creates one final danger that many forget until too late. Fighting him means exposing yourself to his insanity aura, risking your own mental stability just by being near him. Adventurers who survive battle with the Prince of Demons often emerge changed, their minds touched by the chaos they witnessed. Some develop phobias or compulsions. Others see visions in their dreams for years afterward. A few go genuinely mad, their sanity shattered beyond recovery, forcing their companions to make terrible choices about what to do with a friend who can no longer distinguish reality from hallucination. Will Byers experiences something similar after his time in the Upside Down. The trauma of being hunted by the Demogorgon leaving psychological scars that never fully heal. His visions, his episodes, his sense that the creature is still watching him, these align with what D&D lore suggests happens to those who encounter demon princes and survive. The experience marks you permanently, changes something fundamental in how you perceive reality, because you've looked into the face of primal chaos and lived. But living doesn't mean escaping unscathed. Section 4. Vecna, the Whispered One. Beyond the savage hunger of the Demogorgon and the psychic domination of the Mind Flayer lies a third form of horror, one more personal and more terrifying, because it stems from mortal ambition twisted into something far worse. The villain of Stranger Things' 4th season bears the name Vecna. And while the show reimagines this entity as a psychic predator targeting traumatized teenagers, the original Vecna from D and D lore represents perhaps the darkest transformation possible. He began as a man, brilliant and ambitious, and through centuries of terrible choices, became something that even gods fear. The story starts in an age so ancient that most civilizations have forgotten it ever existed. In those distant times, magic flowed more freely through the world, and powerful spellcasters regularly achieved feats that modern wizards consider impossible. Among these practitioners of the arcane arts, one stood above his peers through sheer intellectual brilliance and ruthless determination. History remembers him only as Vecna, though whether that was his birth name or a title he claimed later remains unclear. What matters is what he became, and the path of horror he walked to get there. Vecna was born as a human in the Flan city of Fleeth on the world of Oerth, member of the untouchable caste, the lowest rung of society. His mother, Mazel, herself a practitioner of witchcraft and magic, recognized his potential and became his first teacher. She taught him what she knew despite their poverty and low status. But the government of Fleeth eventually executed Mazel for practicing witchcraft. This execution ignited something dark in young Vecna. He vowed revenge upon all those responsible for her death. After his mother's execution, Vecna disappeared for several years. During this time, he gained mastery of the dark arts achieved by no mortal before or since. Some legends claim this achievement came through direct tutelage by Moxlick, the serpent, believed to be the personification of arcane magic itself. Whether this is literal truth or metaphor, for his obsessive self-study remains debated among scholars. What's certain is that when Vecna emerged from his studies, he had become one of the most powerful wizards ever to walk Oerth. But talent and drive alone don't create liches. Somewhere in his journey toward ultimate power, Vecna made a crucial choice that set him on the path to undeath. He learned that mortality itself was a weakness, that flesh aged and failed, while knowledge could grow eternally if only the vessel holding it could be preserved. This realization consumed him. He began researching necromancy, delving into forbidden texts that promised immortality through the transformation of living flesh into something beyond death's reach. According to some sources, Orcus, the demon prince of undeath, taught Vecna a ritual that would allow him to live on as a lick. Becoming a lick requires more than just powerful magic. The transformation demands careful preparation and a willingness to sacrifice one's humanity. The aspiring lick must first create a phylactery, a receptacle for their soul. This process takes 10 days and requires expensive materials, often valued at 100,000 to 120,000 gold pieces. The phylactery must be made of solid, non-wooden material and be of high-quality craftsmanship. Through specific spells including enchant an item, trap the soul, and magic jar, the object becomes capable of holding a soul. Next, the would-be lick must concoct a potion of transformation, a highly toxic brew called a lichni potion. This process takes 3 days and cannot be done at the same time as crafting the phylactery. When the aspiring lick drinks this potion, they die. But their soul, already bound to the phylactery, animates their corpse as an undead being. The entire process requires the ability to cast 9th-level wizard spells and typically involves heinously evil acts. Vecna performed this ritual sometime in his early centuries of existence. The exact timing lost to history, but the results undeniable. His body died and rose again as undeath, his need for food and sleep vanishing, replaced by an eternal hunger for knowledge and power, and his capacity for mortal emotion withered, leaving only ambition, pride, and a cold, calculating intelligence that would spend millennia accumulating secrets no living being should possess. The newly risen lick didn't simply study magic. He mastered it in ways that turned him into one of the most powerful spellcasters in existence. He developed new spells that bore his name, incantations so potent and so dangerous that most wizards fear to even read about them. He uncovered secrets about the nature of reality itself, learning to manipulate the fundamental forces that hold existence together. And he built an empire, gathering followers through a combination of fear, promises of power, and displays of magical might that left no doubt about his supremacy. Vecna's empire eventually grew to control vast portions of the Flannies, the central continent of Oerth. His realm stretched from Perrinland across the plains to the extent of the Barrens, and across the Nerdiv, as far south as the Woolly Bay. He vowed to destroy the elven kingdoms that acted to restrain his reign of terror. Elven legends tell that he conquered and destroyed 3 out of 4 elven kingdoms, forcing the 4th, Selene, to hide itself from the world. During this time, Vecna mastered the power of undeath more completely, creating armies of undead soldiers and using them to conquer much of what would become known as the Flannies. For centuries, Vecna's name struck terror into the hearts of all who heard it, whispered in fear lest speaking it too loudly draw the lick's terrible attention. So formidable and hideous was his power that his subjects feared to speak his name aloud. He became known by epithets instead: the Whispered One, the maimed god, the undying king, and the lord of the rotted tower. But power attracts enemies, and Vecna made many. Other powerful spellcasters united against him, fearing that his growing strength would eventually threaten them all. Gods who opposed undeath and the perversion of natural law worked through their mortal servants to undermine his empire. Among Vecna's own followers, one of his most trusted servants was a Sururak, a Cambion wizard who would one day become a powerful Demolic himself. It was a Sururak who rescued Vecna when clerics of Foltis nearly destroyed him with a great burst of divine light that struck Vecna primarily on his left side. Within Vecna's court, ambition festered among those closest to him. The greatest threat came from Kaz, described in some sources as a heartless paladin and in others as a vampire warrior. Vecna had created or transformed Kaz personally, making him into an undead champion of terrible power. He armed Kaz with a sentient sword forged through dark rituals, a weapon designed to cut through any defense. For centuries, Kaz served faithfully, leading Vecna's armies to countless victories, standing at his master's side through wars and intrigues. But the sword Vecna gave Kaz whispered to its wielder constantly, feeding his resentment and ambition. It told Kaz that he deserved more than servitude, that his power rivaled Vecna's own, that with one swift strike, he could claim everything his master possessed. Vecna had imbued the blade with a fraction of Kaz's consciousness, making it uniquely attuned to its wielder. And eventually, after centuries of the sword's insidious whispers, Kaz listened. The betrayal came at a crucial moment. When Vecna first attempted to ascend to godhood with the ritual of seeding, a powerful warrior named Yos Varda attacked Vecna directly. Though Vecna defeated Yos, the effort left him winded, and as Yos lay dying, Kaz picked that moment to attack Vecna with the blade in an attempt to usurp him. The ensuing battle destroyed both Vecna and Kaz in a cataclysm of magical violence. The exact details of their final confrontation remain shrouded in mystery and conflicting accounts. What's certain is that both combatants suffered catastrophic damage. Kaz struck Vecna with devastating blows, severing his left hand and destroying his left eye. But Vecna's counterattack proved equally effective, breaking Kaz and scattering his essence. The magical energies unleashed during their battle exploded outward, destroying Vecna's fortress and much of the surrounding region. When the destruction finally settled, neither Vecna nor Kaz could be found. Most assumed both had perished, destroyed utterly in their mutual rage. Vecna's empire collapsed without its master, fragmenting into squabbling factions. The age of the Lich King ended, and the world slowly recovered from centuries of his tyranny. But those who understood the nature of Lichdom knew better. If Vecna's phylactery survived, then so did he, somewhere in the multiverse, reduced perhaps, but not destroyed, waiting and planning his return. Those suspicions proved true. Vecna had survived, though diminished, his physical form shattered, and his power greatly reduced. He spent uncounted years in hiding, slowly regenerating, carefully gathering strength, and above all, plotting revenge. During this time of recovery and scheming, Vecna developed an obsession with secrets that would define his nature for the rest of his existence. He began collecting knowledge with fanatical intensity, hoarding every secret he could discover or steal. After Vecna became aware of Asurak's treachery, he vowed to never let his esoteric knowledge be compromised again. Vecna's zeal for secrecy and ever-growing power led to him being worshipped as something of a god, even before any form of official ascension. He learned the true names of demons and devils, information that granted power over those entities. He uncovered hidden weaknesses of gods, vulnerabilities they thought safely concealed. And he jealously guarded all of this knowledge, killing anyone who learned too much, destroying texts after memorizing them. This obsession transformed Vecna from a powerful lich into something more conceptually terrifying. He became the embodiment of hidden knowledge itself, the keeper of truths that could unmake reality. Cultists began worshiping him not just for his magical power, but for the secrets he might share. Other liches sought his teachings, hoping to learn what Vecna knew about immortality and power. Vecna's severed hand and destroyed eye took on lives of their own, becoming artifacts of tremendous and terrible power. The hand of Vecna and the eye of Vecna could be claimed by mortals willing to undergo horrific transformation. To use the hand, you had to cut off your own left hand and place Vecna's withered appendage against the stump. It would graft itself to your arm, becoming part of you, but never truly yours. The eye required gouging out your own left eye and inserting Vecna's desiccated orb into the socket. Once affixed, both items attached permanently until the owner died or they were forcibly removed. Both artifacts granted immense power to their users. The eye granted the ability to see through solid matter, detect invisible objects, and provided high magic resistance. But these gifts came with terrible prices. The artifacts slowly corrupted whoever used them, eroding free will and replacing the user's personality with fragments of Vecna's consciousness. The artifact's goals were to gain more magical power, establish an empire, destroy the Sword of Kaz, and summon Vecna. Long-term users found themselves thinking Vecna's thoughts, seeing through his perspective, acting according to his goals rather than their own. Vecna's ultimate ambition reached beyond mere lichdom or empire building. He sought godhood itself, transcendence into a state where mortality became irrelevant and power became absolute. The origins of Vecna's ascension to divinity remain shrouded in mystery, considered a great secret fitting for the god that obsessed over them. One widely believed theory stated that Vecna's assault on Sigil granted him the will to restructure the multiverse as he saw fit. The process of Vecna's ascension involved complex rituals and possibly the absorption of divine power from other sources. According to some accounts, he managed to destroy and absorb the essences of other deities to attain godhood. When he finally ascended, when his undead form transformed into something divine, the shockwaves rippled across every plane of existence. The cosmos expanded to make room for this new deity. Gods who had ignored him suddenly recognized the threat he represented. As a god, Vecna commands power that dwarfs his capabilities as a lich. He is the god of secrets, undeath, and forbidden knowledge. He can grant spells to clerics who worship him, channeling divine energy through mortal vessels. He can manifest avatars of himself across multiple planes, appearing to his faithful, while his true form remains hidden in a divine realm. He knows secrets about the structure of the multiverse that give him leverage over other gods. Information he uses to manipulate divine politics and advance his agenda. The cult of Vecna acted in secret for much of the Archlich's existence, and were emboldened upon his ascension to godhood. The Stranger Things interpretation of Vecna takes significant liberties with this lore, transforming the ancient undead god into Henry Creel, a psychic human corrupted by his own power and twisted into a monster. But the core concepts remain intact. Both versions represent the corruption of human potential. Individuals who possessed great gifts and used them in pursuit of domination. Both feed on suffering, Creel targeting traumatized victims, while the original Vecna draws power from the fear and worship his secrets inspire. And both seek to reshape reality according to their vision, eliminating what they see as weakness to create a world that matches their warped ideals. The curse that Vecna places on his victims in Season 4 mirrors methods a deity of secrets might employ. In D&D, powerful entities can mark targets for destruction through complex rituals involving personal artifacts and spoken curses. These marks connect the victim to the entity across any distance, allowing tracking, dream invasion, and eventual soul claiming. The show's use of traumatic memories as the curse's anchor demonstrates similar psychological manipulation, using the victim's own pain against them, just as Vecna, the god, uses secrets and hidden shames to control his enemies. The transformation of the upside down under Vecna's influence, the way it becomes less of a simple mirror world and more of a curated nightmare reflecting his victims' traumas, aligns with how powerful undead reshape their domains. A lich's lair isn't just a place where they happen to live. It's an extension of their will, a space where reality bends to match their desires. Rooms rearrange themselves according to the lick's whims. The very laws of physics become suggestions that the lick can override. Based on what we see in Stranger Things, Vecna's upside-down functions similarly. A realm molded by his consciousness, where he controls the environment absolutely. The connection between Vecna and 11 takes on deeper meaning when viewed through D and D lore. In the game, Vecna constantly seeks individuals with potential power, trying to corrupt them and turn them into servants or vessels for his influence. Powerful psionicists would particularly interest him because their abilities complement knowledge-based magic. A psychic of 11's caliber represents both a threat and an opportunity. Someone who could potentially challenge him, but who could also, if turned, become an instrument of terrible destruction. Vecna's nature as the god of secrets makes him one of the most insidious deities in the D and D pantheon. Other evil gods are at least straightforward in their malice. A god of war wants conflict and bloodshed. A god of tyranny seeks absolute control through force. But Vecna operates through information asymmetry, through knowing things others don't, and using that knowledge to manipulate events from the shadows. His followers might not even realize they serve him. Acting on information he's carefully leaked while believing they follow their own goals. The Whispered One, as Vecna is sometimes called, represents knowledge taken to its darkest extreme. Information becomes a weapon, secrets become chains, and truth becomes whatever serves Vecna's purposes. In a multiverse where knowledge is power, Vecna has made himself the ultimate authority on what can be known and what must remain hidden. This position grants him influence that transcends his actual divine rank, making him more dangerous than gods far more powerful simply because he knows too much and shares too little. Section 5. The Hive and Other Dark Entities. The horrors we've explored, the Mind Flayer's psychic domination, Demogorgon's savage hunting, and Vecna's corruption through secrets, don't exist in isolation within D and D lore. They command armies of lesser creatures, aberrations, and monstrosities that serve their terrible purposes. Understanding these servants reveals how completely the entities from the upside down mirror the hierarchies of extraplanar evil that adventurers have faced across countless campaigns. The Mind Flayer's most direct servants are the Intellect Devourers, brain-shaped creatures with 4 clawed legs that scuttle like crabs. These aberrations are psionic servants created by Mind Flayers, specifically to aid their colonies. An Intellect Devourer attacks by using its psionic powers to devour a victim's intellect from up to 10 feet away. If successful, the victim's mental capacity deteriorates, potentially leaving them stunned or completely incapacitated. Once the victim is vulnerable, the intellect devourer can approach within 5 feet and consume the physical brain, then teleport inside the empty skull to replace it. The possessed individual appears normal from outside, still walking and talking and going through daily routines, but their mind has been completely replaced by the alien intelligence wearing their flesh. This process mirrors exactly what happens to the flayed in Stranger Things' 3rd season. They maintain their human appearance while something else controls them from within. They coordinate with each other through an unseen connection, moving in perfect synchronization when their master requires it. And they sacrifice themselves without hesitation when needed, proving that whatever made them human has been utterly erased. The show's biological approach, with the mind flayer's physical matter entering and transforming victims, updates the concept for modern horror sensibilities while preserving the core nightmare of losing yourself to an invading intelligence. Beyond intellect devourers, mind flayer colonies employ umber hulks as shock troops and excavators. These massive insectoid creatures stand 8 feet tall, their bodies covered in chitinous plates, their heads dominated by 4 eyes that can scramble the thoughts of anyone who looks at them. Umber hulks tunnel through solid stone with ease, using their powerful claws to carve passages through the Underdark, the vast system of caverns that exists beneath the surface world in D and D settings. Mind flayers capture umber hulks and enslave them psychically, turning their destructive capabilities toward the colony's purposes. Nyogi also capture and enslave umber hulks, showing these creatures are particularly susceptible to domination. The tunneling vines in the upside down serve a similar function, boring through dimensional barriers and physical obstacles alike. They spread the corruption of that realm into the material plane, creating networks that connect different locations and allow the mind flayer's influence to extend further. Like umber hulks carving passages through stone, these vines reshape the environment to suit their master's needs, transforming Hawkins into a hybrid space where 2 realities overlap uncomfortably. Mind flayers also frequently use thralls from the Underdark, particularly Grimlocks, who have served as illithid thralls and prey for generations. Quaggoths also serve well as thralls, and Duergar were once commonly enslaved before breaking free. This demonstrates the mind flayer's preference for maintaining diverse populations of dominated servants. Demogorgon commands different servants, creatures of savage violence rather than subtle domination. His followers include Balgura demons, large ape-like demons with orangutan features that can change their fur color to express emotion, turning brilliant orange when enraged and dull gray when calm. Demon lords like Demogorgon, Yinaghu, and Baphomet favor the brutal ferocity of Balguras, as do other high-ranking demons that appreciate savagery. When forced to work for more powerful demons, Balguras serve as scouts, though they prefer to hunt in packs with their own kind. Demogorgon's court includes numerous powerful servants. His largest army, known as the Demos Horde, is commanded by General Tetradarian, a clone of his head Amul. The army's second in command is War Secretary General Gromsved the Drowned, a uniquely powerful Chlorachir demon. Among his most powerful servants are Gorgant the Two-Faced, an aspect of Demogorgon himself, and General Bagromer, a clone of Heathray-Dia. Saint Kargoth the Betrayer, the first Death Knight, serves Demogorgon in his realm, defending Wat Dagon. That realm is also guarded by Captain Urbala, an exceptionally powerful Hezru demon, and the human sorcerer Nulunga. Demogorgon employs Uluthurg, a six-fingered Balgura sorcerer, as his master of assassins. The creatures that emerge from the upside down alongside the Demogorgon, the Demodogs, as Dustin names them, function as these lesser servants. They're not as powerful as the full Demogorgon, not as intelligent or as resilient, but they hunt in packs and attack with coordinated savagery. Their flower petal faces open to reveal circular mouths lined with teeth, a design that echoes the predatory features found on many abyssal creatures. They serve the larger intelligence controlling the upside down, disposable soldiers sent to overwhelm through numbers and relentless aggression. Vecna's servants take yet another form, creatures warped by undeath and dark magic, rather than abyssal corruption or psychic domination. As a god of secrets and necromancy, Vecna commands vast influence over the undead, from simple skeletons and zombies to more sophisticated creations like wights and death knights. But his most feared servants are the liches who worship him, powerful undead spellcasters who see in Vecna the ultimate expression of what they hope to become. These servant liches spread across the multiverse, establishing cults in Vecna's name, gathering secrets to offer their dark god, and working toward goals that align with his grand designs. They operate independently most of the time, pursuing their own schemes. But when Vecna calls, they respond with absolute obedience. This network of immortal spellcasters gives Vecna reach that extends far beyond what his own direct actions could accomplish, allowing him to manipulate events across multiple planes simultaneously. The corrupted humans serving the forces unleashed from the upside down, particularly the agents working for Hawkin's laboratory, who continue the psychic experiments even after understanding their danger, mirror mortal cultists who have glimpsed forbidden power. Their scientific justifications and government authority mask what's essentially pursuit of knowledge that should remain hidden, because understanding it corrupts those who possess it. beyond these direct servants, the entities from the upside down command or influence creatures native to the planes they inhabit. The Shadowfell teams with undead that serve any sufficiently powerful entity willing to command them. Shadows themselves, creatures formed from darkness given predatory will, drift through that realm hunting for life force to drain. Wraiths, incorporeal undead that are sunlight sensitive, float through ruins seeking victims to possess or destroy. And at the highest level, creatures called Nightwalkers stride across the landscape, titans of shadow and death, standing over 20 feet tall, that can snuff out life with a touch. These terrifying undead of extreme potency cross over from the negative energy plane and often wander the Shadowfell's darkest regions. Nightwalkers can summon other undead, typically shadows and wraiths, and they possess supernatural strength that allows them to crush opponents. On the Shadowfell itself, they can use profane rituals to turn mortal victims into Bodaks. The spread of decay in the upside down, the way living things wither and die in that realm, suggests similar necrotic energy permeating the environment. Trees stand dead and leafless, not because they lack water or sunlight, but because the fundamental life force has been drained from them. The spores floating through the air carry this death with them, infecting anything they touch with the same entropy. Living beings caught in the upside down for extended periods face slow transformation, their vitality leached away, until they become part of the realm's desolate landscape. The far realm contributes its own horrors to this collection of servants and influenced creatures. Star spawn, entities created by elder evils to act as their agents on the prime material plane, take forms that defy natural law. Star spawn are associated with elder evils that inhabit other planes, such as the Far Realm, the Shadowfell, the Grey Waste, and the Abyss. Warped by proximity to the Far Realm, these creatures have purposes incomprehensible to even the most unbalanced humanoids. They understand and speak deep speech, a language associated with the Far Realm that's also spoken by mind flayers, beholders, and aboleths. These aberrations don't serve Far Realm entities in any conventional sense. They don't follow orders or work toward coherent goals as mortals understand them. Instead, they embody their creator's alien purposes, reshaping reality through their mere presence to make it more compatible with Far Realm physics. Their existence in the material plane causes localized reality failures, spots where the normal laws of nature temporarily suspend or invert. Based on their nature near a star spawn, water might flow upward, gravity might reverse randomly, and thoughts might become briefly tangible before dissolving back into pure concept. The distortions in the upside down, the way physics seems flexible and unreliable, the electromagnetic anomalies, and the way time feels wrong. all suggest possible far realm influence bleeding through. The children experience this when they use compasses to navigate, finding that magnetic north shifts unpredictably. Joyce experiences it when she communicates with Will through Christmas lights, using electricity in ways that shouldn't be possible. And everyone who spends time near the gates or in the upside down reports feeling watched, sensing an alien presence, observing them through mechanisms that transcend normal perception. The connection between these D and D creatures and Stranger Things extends to the children's campaign itself, the game they play becoming prophetic in ways they don't initially recognize. When Will runs a campaign featuring Demogorgon as the villain, he's choosing one of D and D's most iconic monsters, a creature that's appeared in adventures since the game's earliest editions. The coincidence that a creature called Demogorgon then emerges from the upside down suggests either remarkable synchronicity or something deeper. Some connection between the game and reality that the show leaves deliberately ambiguous. In D and D lore, there's precedent for stories and imagination affecting reality. The deck of many things, a magical artifact that appears as a set of cards, can fundamentally alter reality when drawn from. Each card triggers specific effects, some beneficial and some catastrophically harmful, reshaping the drawer's fate according to archetypal patterns. Some sages theorize that the deck works by making narrative real, imposing story structure on reality and forcing events to conform to dramatic arcs rather than random chance. The children's campaign in Stranger Things might function similarly, creating narrative patterns that reality then fills in. They imagine Demogorgon as the villain. So when a predator emerges from another dimension, it takes characteristics that match their imagined demon prince. They fear the mind flayer's psychic domination. So the intelligence controlling the upside down demonstrates exactly that capability. And when they invoke Vecna's name, when they frame their struggle in terms of fighting the god of secrets, they attract the attention of forces that mirror those exact qualities. This intersection between game and reality, between imagination and manifestation, touches on fundamental questions about consciousness and creation. In D and DS cosmology, thought has power. The outer planes, realms where gods and other cosmic entities dwell, literally reshape themselves according to the beliefs of those who inhabit or visit them. A god's realm reflects that deity's nature perfectly because the gods will makes it so. Mortal souls that end up in these planes find themselves in afterlives that match their expectations, because expectation becomes reality when consciousness is all that matters. Based on this framework, the upside down might operate on similar principles, a realm where thought and reality blur together. The mind flayer shapes it according to its consciousness. imposing its vision of existence onto the malleable substrate of that dimension. When it encounters the children's imaginations, their stories and fears and hopes, these mental constructs interact with the realm's nature in ways that influence how it manifests. The result could be a feedback loop where the children's game informs the threats they face, which in turn validates and strengthens their game as a framework for understanding their situation. The adventuring party concept central to D&D finds perfect expression in the group dynamic Stranger Things establishes. Each character fills a traditional role. 11 serves as the party's magical powerhouse, capable of feats beyond normal human capability. Mike acts as the leader and strategist, the one who coordinates their efforts and keeps them focused. Dustin provides technical expertise and comic relief, the clever problem solver who thinks laterally. Lucas offers practical skills and determination, the fighter who stands firm when others might flee. And Will, despite or because of his connection to the Upside Down, serves as both the party's conscience and their unwitting guide to the realm they're fighting against. This party structure mirrors the classic D&D party composition: wizard, cleric or paladin, rogue, fighter. The classic standard is fighter, rogue, cleric, and wizard. Each member brings unique capabilities that complement the others, creating a group stronger than the sum of its parts. When they work together, coordinating their abilities and supporting each other's weaknesses, they can face threats that would destroy them individually. This is the fundamental truth of D&D gameplay. The reason campaigns center on parties rather than solo heroes. The multiverse is too dangerous, its threats too varied and too powerful for any one person to overcome alone. The adults in Stranger Things serve similar party functions when they finally engage with the supernatural threats. Joyce's maternal determination and refusal to accept easy explanations makes her the heart of the adult group. Hopper's law enforcement training and combat experience make him their fighter. Murray's investigative skills and paranoid preparedness fill the rogue role. And the various scientists and researchers who provide technical support function as the party's artificer or wizard, using knowledge and tools to solve problems that brute force can't address. Together, these overlapping parties, children and adults working in parallel and eventually in concert, demonstrate the collaborative spirit that defines D&D at its best. No single hero defeats Demogorgon or the Mind Flayer or Vecna. Victory comes through combined effort, through people supporting each other, through the sacrifice and courage of many rather than the exceptional prowess of one. This communal approach to heroism distinguishes D&D from many other adventure narratives and makes it a perfect lens through which to understand Stranger Things' ensemble cast and their collective struggle. The lore behind Stranger Things runs deeper than casual viewers might realize. Every major element of the show, from the dimensional gates to the creatures that emerge from them, to the psychic abilities that interact with both, finds parallels in Dungeons and Dragons' vast mythology. The Upside Down reflects the Shadowfell and potentially touches the Far Realm. The Mind Flayer embodies illithid colonies and their elder brains. The Demogorgon channels the Demon Prince's savage predation. And Vecna represents the corruption of mortal ambition into undead divinity. Understanding these connections enriches the viewing experience, adding layers of meaning and implication to scenes that might otherwise pass by as simple horror or adventure. When the characters invoke D&D concepts, they're not just using convenient labels from their favorite game. They're tapping into decades of accumulated lore, frameworks developed by thousands of players, and game masters working to create compelling narratives about heroes facing impossible odds against cosmic evil. The game gives them language to describe the indescribable and structure to impose on chaos that would otherwise overwhelm them. This is the power of shared mythology, the reason why stories and frameworks matter beyond simple entertainment. When you face something incomprehensible, having a story that explains it makes survival possible. The children of Hawkins could have collapsed into paralyzed terror when confronted with dimensional horrors. Instead, they drew on their game, on the countless hours spent imagining themselves as heroes facing similar threats, and they found the courage to act. The framework didn't make the danger less real, but it made it comprehensible. And comprehension is the first step toward resistance. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive into the D&D lore that underpins Stranger Things. If you enjoyed exploring these connections between the show and the game that inspired it, please like this video and subscribe to the channel. There are countless other corners of D&D mythology waiting to be explored. Endless stories about the planes, the creatures, the gods, and the heroes who stand against the darkness. The multiverse is vast and strange, and filled with wonders and terrors alike, and we've only begun to scratch its surface.